Welcome to Season 2 of Unspoken Truth. This will be a journey of self-discovery, healing, and bringing out the best version of ourselves and learning the art of being unapologetic, secure in who we are, and loving ourselves first before we love others, knowing when to choose ourselves and letting go of what doesn't serve us. Join me on this journey of discovering unspoken truths and changing the narrative. This is from a woman who's just like you, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and God's child, and in everything else in between. I am still an individual riding the waves of life. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth.
In this episode, dear you, there is two sides of the story and the truth. There are always two sides to every story, and it is generally wise and safe and charitable to take the best, and yet there's probably no one way in which persons are so liable to be wrong, as in presuming the worst is true and informing and expressing their judgment of others and of their actions without waiting till all the truth is known. Jonathan Edwards. There's always two sides of a story and the truth. This statement has been lingering in my thoughts on how we tend to perceive the truth. Here's an analogy. If two people were to watch a movie at the same time, at the same place, and after the movie you ask them how the movie was and how they understood it, you'll get two different stories, two different outcomes. The reality is how they received the information and how they expressed it at the end does not mean no one is telling the truth. In this instance, the only person who understands the story would be the writer of the movie, right? Now, I need you to think of a conflict that you once experienced, either with family, friends, or in a relationship. While you're still thinking about it, let me share a story. There was a misconception on how we grew up, my siblings and I. For the longest of time, my sister thought I had an easier life away from the abusive environment we grew up in because I was in boarding school. For her, it meant that I was better off than her. That was her truth of how we were both experiencing the environment we grew up in. The one thing she didn't know is that I could have been far from home but still experience the same stress or traumas, because I would sacrifice some items so that I can get home so that we could have something to eat. Concentrating at school, not knowing how your mother and your little siblings are, was never easy, though I got by, and that's my truth. Now, I want you to analyze where I'm going with this. We had two different experiences, but brought up in one environment. She carried her truth, so did I. And that didn't mean that neither of us were wrong. The side of the stories are both true because of how we perceived everything around us. The only problem was that there were never shared moments or stories or having clear conversations and communication. I've realized that lately, as people, we tend to stay in our own truth and not want to hear the other person and understand on how they experience or see it. Our conscious selves lean more closely to our own truth and never makes room for anything else. We live in this notion of wanting our sides of a story to be heard more than the other. Take a look at relationships. Should there be conflict, one partner will stand headstrong on how it all went down, making their side sound as truthful as possible, forgetting that the other partner also has a side on how they experience the conflict, and their side is as valid and as truthful to them. Remember, there's always two sides to every story. Understanding is a three-edged sword. Your side, their side, and the truth in the middle. Get all the facts before you jump into conclusion. J. Michael. This episode is to urge people to understand and remember that we are all visitors on this earth having a human experience. For us to have a pleasant time here, we need to learn how to best communicate and be empathetic to each other. I'll keep this episode short and sweet, hoping to have more conversations in the comment section on Unspoken Truth podcast page on Instagram. So, Follow me on Instagram, subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcast. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. Until the next episode, remember, everything in life comes with divine order, divine timing, and divine presence. Dear you, you're gonna be just fine. I thank you.
The Unspoken Truth is the catalyst for important and thought-provoking conversations that need to be had. The network tackles social ills, spiritual healing, soul-searching, and mental health awareness. To subscribe, click on the show link to follow our podcast and be part of the Unspoken Truth family. Find us on all social media platforms.